Is the Pac-12 a buyer or a seller in college football expansion? Let's get into that, because I think one of the interesting things was George Kliavkoff's, I don't know, was it a speech? Was it a grandstanding? I don't know. I think it's interesting when you listen to George Kliavkoff at Pac-12 Media Day and you listen to what he said about, college expansion and conference realignment.
George, you say that you haven't determined whether you're going to go shopping in the Big 12 or not. You don't hear something like that often from a commissioner saying they might target another conference's schools. Usually it's the other way around. They reach out to you. So, one, has any members of the Big 12 reached out to you about potentially joining the Pac-12? And secondly, you talk about being collegial. Do you think the days of trying to be collegial when it comes to expansion are over?
I hope they're not over, but they're certainly harmed. And that remark was a reflection of the fact that I've been spending 4 weeks trying to defend against grenades that have been lobbed in from every corner of the Big 12, trying to destabilize our remaining conference. And I understand why they're doing it. When you look at the relative media value between the two conferences, I get it. I get why they're scared. I get why they're trying to destabilize us. But I was just tired of that. And yeah, that's probably not the most collegial thing I've ever said.
I don't know, man. I mean, what do you make of that? How do you feel? I mean, lobbing grenades?
Yeah, look, I think that, so first of all, the first thing that needs to be said here is you need to understand who George is, obviously. Commissioner of the Pac-12, has a job to do, has a certain stance he's got to take. So my first reaction to everything that he said, from the speech to the press availability, was, yes, this guy obviously has to represent the Pac-12. That specific comment, I felt like, was him just taking the tough guy approach and standing tall for his conference. I think that there were a lot of, like last week, if you think about all the conversations we had on the show and what the national feeling was about where the Pac-12 was, there's some real, and even today, there are some real questions about the viability of the Pac-12 long term. So I think, George had to come out and say, hey, yeah, we are planning on being successful. We are planning on growing. We are the Conference of Champions. We are all these great things. Like, that's what I was saying Friday. Like, I expected him to come out with a bunch of positivity. But, to take that strong of a stance to wonder about whether you're buying or selling, or what the future of the conference is, I just think that was kind of a mistake. I would have preferred him to say, yeah, we are looking at all our options. We got to figure out what is best. He also, there were a lot of conversation around like NIL and his stance on what NIL looked like, and the fact that you're sitting there saying hey, yeah, we've lost sight of what the student athlete is. That's a problem for me. And the reason I say that's a problem is because NIL is the future of college athletics, and you need to get on board now if you want to survive. And I just think that the Pac-12 has been behind the 8 ball on that, and I think that overall they got to step their game up in that department.
Yeah, let's hear from George Kliavkoff on his thoughts on the Pac-12 survival, especially with the remaining 10 teams.
What gives you confidence that the 10 remaining schools are going to stay in this conference?
Yeah, we've had 2 board meetings a week for the last 4 weeks, and looking my colleagues in the eye and understanding their commitment, and that their first priority is making sure that the Pac-12 survives and thrives and grows and is successful. They're committed to the conference, and I think the best thing to do is to ask them about it. And with respect to the Big 12 being open for business, I appreciate that. We haven't decided if we're going shopping there yet or not.
You haven't decided?
That's stunning
excuse
to
me. You haven't decided if you want to go shopping or not. I got news for you, George. You do need to go shopping. You definitely need to go shopping.
Here's the question. One of the biggest things about George Kliavkoff was that was a lot of bloviating. That was a lot of valuing. That was, we're a big bad conference in the Pac-12 and we're going to survive and we have huge brand value. Or do you? Because one of the things that's very clear is George Kliavkoff believes his Pac-12 can add teams and survive. And I just don't know how that happens. If you are George Kliavkoff, what is it that you can offer Houston that the Big 12 cannot? Because with all due respect to the Houston is a team that in the Big 12 has games of consequence against their neighbors at Tech, against their neighbors at TCU, potentially against their neighbors in Dallas at SMU. Like, you have games of consequence that matter.
Yes.
Houston versus Oklahoma State is a game that Houston fans care about. With all due respect, Houston against Oregon State is not a game that most Houstonians care about. So what is it that you offer a team like Houston? Conversely, what is it that the Pac-12 offers a team like San Diego State that the Big 12 does not? Because I don't see value in the Pac-12 if I'm San Diego State. I see far more value in the Big 12 if I'm San Diego State. And when I say that, you can't also turn around and say, well, what the value is TV money. Because if you were offering Houston $75 million a season per member of the conference, okay, then I could see having value in joining the Pac-12. You're never getting close to 50, 60, 70 million per school per season in TV money.
Yeah.
You're never getting close to that.
Well, and I thought what was interesting yesterday is, that was also another thing that people were kind of talking about was like, George Kliavkoff saying that, well, we're working on things. We're working on, like he had a whole segment of a speech was about initiatives and what they're working on and trying to figure things out. And his main thing was, yeah, we are working on a streaming deal. That's like the most important thing. And I just wanted to, like, when I was listening to it and watching it, I just literally wanted to say, like, it's not good enough that you're just working on it now. That's the problem, right? And again, all with a grain of salt, because he has to say what he has to say a certain type of way, but it's just not good enough. Like, you needed to have the last 5 years, $70 million a school. You needed to have that track record that you could live off of and lean on and leverage and be able to say, yeah, San Diego State, we are going to get you $75 million a year. Yeah, Houston, we are going to get you $75 million a year. Not, yeah, San Diego State, we're going to get you $30 million a year. That's not good enough. That's what I was just perplexed by.
Yep, Josh Lovering, good morning, Coach. He says Pac-12 did say they were first to get NIL going in college athletics. Come on. What? Okay, congratulations.
But that's like one of those, like what you were just saying, like what else? So
what does that mean?
So what else is he going to say? And that's what I mean. You have to understand that his lens, if you will, like the way he's going to have the conversation and respond to questions is going to be a proactive Pac-12 answer every single time. You have to understand that. So I wasn't surprised he said that, but it's so far from the truth that the Pac-12 was the first to like revolutionize NIL. That's just not true.
I just don't see, and we can play the bite. Let's play the NIL bite because I think it matters. Here is George Kliavkoff talking about NIL.
The clear line for me should be that boosters should not be able to interact with high school students before they've committed. Coaches should be able to say to a recruit that historically kids who have come here and played that position at that level have enjoyed this kind of NIL, but you can't negotiate the NIL before the kid is committed. That would be a good bright line rule that I think would be easier to implement.
Well, that's all well and good, George, but that's not the way business is done in college athletics.
Yeah.
Right. And I think one of the things that the Pac-12 has to stop doing is being virtualistic. Oh, man, like we're virtuous.
It's a great point.
We care about the rules. And wow, look at Cal and their beautiful hippies on campus.
It's like they're on a pedestal almost.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Do you really think a kid wants a ethical, wonderful, rule-abiding citizen as his athletic director or football coach? Or does he want a guy that's going to make him the most money and give him the best route to the NFL?
Yeah.
That's what kids want. I don't know how to explain to you, George Kliavkoff and everybody else, the reason that the SEC wins is because they out-recruit you, they out-develop you, and kids want to play there because they know they're going to play in big games, they know they're going to make money, and they know they're going to get a fair shot at the NFL.
If you ain't first, you're last.
If you go to a bottom tier team in the SEC, pick your school, Tennessee, it doesn't matter. You're in bigger games than you are at Oregon State or Washington State. You're in bigger games than you are at Arizona. Like the thing that's so frustrating is that the Pac-12 should be thriving. They should be thriving. But Carol Folt, the president at USC, how about this story? How about this story? I don't know how many people heard this the other day. SI had a story where there was a meeting a year ago that George Kliavkoff put together of athletic directors and school presidents, a small select, I think it was 6 of them. And they looked at the news that Texas and Oklahoma were leaving the Big 12 for the SEC. And the question asked in that meeting was, should the Pac-12 expand? Should we go after the Big 12, add their schools to our conference, and expand? And the president at USC, Carol Folt, said, no, this is not what the right thing to do is. I'm not interested in this conversation. And she killed Pac-12 expansion to turn around and stick the saber in your back and take UCLA with her while she was doing it to the Big Ten.
He's an assassin.
In less than a year,
Dude.
after that meeting, USC and UCLA left the Pac-12 to go to the Big Ten. And it makes you wonder, because I've said this all along, and I'm sure Pac-12 fans won't love this. USC is one of the foundational problems with the Pac-12.
I'm sorry if you're offended by that.
It's not what's right. USC is not what's right with the Pac-12. USC is what's wrong with the Pac-12. That's been a one-school league since they expanded the last time. It's been a one-school league. They've sunk or they've swam when USC has played well.
Yep.
And USC on the football field has not really been relevant for a decade. They have not been, and George Kliavkoff can continue to run this garbage out about the Conference of Championships. Look what we did in billiards.
Come on, guy.
Look what we did in tandem underwater dance.
You're casual.
Nobody cares that your culinary championships and stuff. Did you win at football? Oh, you didn't? Okay, you're irrelevant.
Never.
I mean, that is by
It's just
far
the world we live in, bro.
It is.
Like on Friday, I said I would expect him to come to this press availability with a plan, a plan of attack to get after this press conference. I didn't expect George to go into some soliloquy about how badminton was making them money, dude. I didn't expect tennis to get brought up or any of these sports, with all due respect, because I know the student athlete in those sports works their ass off just the way a D1 football player does. But the world we live in, the facts of the case are football's number 1, basketball's number 2, and the Pac-12 is piss poor at both. That's
Yes,
the
it
facts
is.
of the case. And so when you roll up to press, you're like, hey, this is some great thing, and it's not. That makes you look, frankly, not great.
Yep, totally agree. All right, let's get some of your comments in here as we talk about Big 12, Pac-12 expansion. Don't forget, Brett Yormark's first day on the job in the Big 12 is today. The new commissioner is in place. So a lot of people expecting activity. I would think in the next 7 to 10 days, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They already know, they already have their plan. Ruff's official says if Baylor or TCU leaves the Big 12, they're in the same position as the Pac-12. Absolutely right. You cannot, and that's why I say I think with Yormark in place, you have to be super aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get, in my opinion, SMU and San Diego State, and I'm getting a triumvirate of schools from the Pac-12. I'm doing everything I can do to get Washington, Oregon, and Utah. Those are the first 3 that I would try to lock down.
I want it.
I would absolutely, positively go and get San Diego State, go and get SMU, do what you can do to build this conference and put the death knell down on the Pac-12.
Is this the dagger?
You have to bury the Pac-12 because I'm telling you now, they don't have one foot in the grave in the Pac-12, or excuse me, now the Pac-10. They don't have one foot in the grave. No, bro, they're laying in their coffin, which is already at the bottom of a 6-foot hole, and there's a bunch of people kicking dirt on that bad boy.
And as you can see, there's not much hope for you
You
left.
need to bring in a front loader, and you just need to pile the dirt on that coffin and make sure nobody getting out of that hole. If you're the Big 12, that's your path to survival, because not even Baylor or TCU, the big prize in the Pac-12 is Oklahoma State, because there's a lot of people who think the SEC is lobbying hard to bring Stillwater to the SEC. And if that happens, the Big 12 is dead. Absolutely dead. Brett Robbins, why do we keep saying the Pac-12? It's obviously the Pac-10. I would agree with that. Jay Boogie, I forgot to read your comment for $20. Appreciate you very much. Thank you. Says Jay Boogie, the closer for KFTV. I'm a subscriber to your channel, and as a Nick fan, you forgot the NIC. You might want to put a K on there. I highly appreciate your work that you provide each and every day. Straight on point. Salute, salute, salute. Appreciate it, man.
that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see. King Carl says, happy Brett Yorkman Day. Exactly right. Josh Levering says, any non-P5 school joining the Pac-12 would get equal payouts as UW or Oregon among other members. That's an issue. That's a huge issue.
Yep.
That is a huge issue. So I don't know what you do with that. Bob Holsey says, Ruff's official, not even close. No Big 12 defections will be more than an irritant. I completely disagree. I totally disagree. If you lose, I think Baylor's a big one because Baylor showed last year they're back in football.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've proven the last 3 years they're back in basketball. I mean, that's a big, I mean, Waco, Baylor, that's a big brand.
Dude, the Big 12 is not bulletproof. We need to understand this. Like,
No.
You're probably 2 teams away from being in a similar position as the Pac-12, which is why you need to go and kill the Pac-12 and bring in all those teams. Or the Pac-10 if we're being, correct about it.
Get it right.
Jesus.
Anyway, Quentin Randall says, unbelievable story in SI. What a joke. She killed the conversation. Yes, she did.
But I think it
did.
speaks to, I think the reason it impacted me so much is because I felt like Carol making that decision clearly is a symbol of, hey, I don't believe in this conference, number one. And number two, we're SC. We're not taking this crap anymore. We need to get to the Big Ten because we know the SEC is probably out of the conversation, but we need to get to the Big Ten and start playing big football games again. Start being SC again. That's clearly what that was about.
Yep, totally agree. Eric and Raleigh says the Pac won AA.
Yeah.
Seriously. Absolutely. Sexy Lopez says Utah has beautiful young white women.
Okay.
Who the f*** is that guy?
Make sure you go to therapy or your group session today. Brett Robbins says their college over there winning best mowed lawn. Shake my head. Exactly. The grass in USC is beautiful.
Right.
Carol Baskined. Josh Lemon says Carol Baskined the Pac-12.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe she did. That story's
Straight
unreal.
up.
That story is.
But I think, but again, I can't get away from the fact that this story would not exist if the Pac-12 was at 70 million plus per school. Like I can't help but say that. That's the shame in all of this. We didn't need to be here. Again, on our YouTube channel, go digging. We were at, 5 years ago? We were at Pac-12 Media Day, right? And Larry straight up said, yeah, we've got a streaming deal. We've got DirecTV coming in. We've got all this stuff. And nothing ever happened.
It'll be resolved shortly.
And now we're here. That's what the shame is.
Yep, totally agree. Hey, just a reminder, we are sending a lucky listener +1 to see BYU and Notre Dame at the Shamrock Series in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium, October 7th and 8th. You get 2 nights at the Palms Hotel, Resort, and Casino. You get 2 tickets to the game and a $250 gas card to get you there. And it is all brought to you by our good friend, Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage. My guy, Devery Davis. Call him today, 801-543-9666, 801-543-9666, NMLS number 278545. I got to tell you about Devery Davis, and I know coming up here in about 20 minutes when we get to the non-sports stories of the day, well, in about 5 minutes after I get done with this read. Yeah. Mortgage rates are way down right now. They have dropped about, over 0.25% of a point since Thursday at 5.13. Yes, you can afford to buy a house again. Yes, there is inventory. Yes, there are sellers that are lowering their price, but you got to be a cash buyer. Devery Davis can make you a cash buyer today. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that he's going to hand you a suitcase for $500,000 to buy your dream house.
No, I guess not.
No, friends. He's going to give you a letter that says you're qualified as a cash buyer. That means you can make that offer aggressively today and get under contract. Oh, but Monty, I don't have a down payment. That's okay. Devery Davis and Academy Mortgage have down payment programs to help you buy your home. Are you a law enforcement official, a police officer? Did you know that there is a new program that means you have to put no money down to buy a home? Did you know that the FHA, Fannie and Freddie, have programs for millennials and first-time buyers where There is no money down. Yes, that all exists when you have the best mortgage guy in the business, Devery Davis and Academy Mortgage, 801-543-9666, NMLS number 278545. Call him today and get the hookup. Devery Davis, Academy Mortgage are an equal housing lender. Make sure you tell them you heard it on the Monty Show, as you will when you go to Barbecue Pit Stop, because our newest partner on the show is Barbecue Pit Stop. So you say, hey, Monty, I want to go to Las Vegas. Well, all you have to do is go to the Barbecue Pit Stop stores in Logan, Lehigh, Layton, Salt Lake, and St. George. There's going to be a box on the counter starting today. It's already at the Lehigh store.
Yep.
All you have to do, there's a little slip. You fill it out, you drop it in the box, and you are entered to win a trip for two to see BYU and Notre Dame at the Shamrock Series in Las Vegas on October 7th and 8th. Go to any of their stores or check them out online at bbqpitstop.com. I'm telling you, I know smokers intimidate a lot of people. I was that guy. I had no idea how to use a smoker. I didn't know how they worked.
Yeah.
And then we went into Barbecue Pit Stop. And we went to the Murray store, and we said, hey, you know what? We want to buy a smoker. And I said to Jake, well, you know, hey, there's a lot of places to buy a smoker. Let's just go to this big box store over here.
No.
And what did you say?
Can't do it, bro. Got to support a local business.
Got to support a local business.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I did.
It's not just Devery Davis and Academy Mortgage. That's a small local business. Barbecue Pit Stop is owned by, like the Lehigh store is owned by Steve. You can walk in and talk to Steve. He's a local guy. The Murray store, like all these different stores are owned by small business owners. So when you spend that money in their store, it goes right back into the economy locally.
Yes.
And when you go into Barbecue Pit Stop, the thing that I love is they'll teach you how to use the smoker. They'll give you I'm a wing guy. Last night we smoked wings.
Drums or flats?
Stop. What kind of stupid question is that?
You better check yourself.
Just when I think you wouldn't, you were almost through an entire show without making a jackass of yourself.
Well, maybe me and George Kliavkoff can hang out, you know?
Everybody knows it's drums. Anyway, the point is, they'll teach you how to use your smoker. They have everything you need. If you're running low on pellets, going to any of your Barbecue Pit Stop stores in Logan, Lehigh, Layton, St. George, and Salt Lake City, of course.
Yeah.
They have a ton of pellets, every flavor you can imagine.
One of my favorite things that we got when we went to the store to buy our smoker, and this is a true story. Mm-hmm. We went in there, and we were like, hey, we've never used a smoker before. We know we want a Traeger. We were looking at the 650, but then he was like, well, have you ever done pizza? And we were like, no, that's a thing? He was like, yeah, dude, that's a thing. And so then he gets us into the Ironwood 885, which is what we have now. Not only do we know how to do pizza, we know how to do wings now. They even give you recommendations on the seasoning, which I know absolutely nothing about. I know, hey, it says this flavor. Okay, cool. But how much? How long do you need to let them sit there? They have all that knowledge, and they make it fun. You don't feel like you're getting pressured to buy stuff. So that's why I say, that's why we wanted them on the show. Go to the store, fill out the slip, enter to win. Trust me, it will be worth your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Find Barbecue Pit Stop online, bbqpitstop.com. Or going to any of their stores in Logan, Layton, Lehigh, Salt Lake City, and St. George. All right, it is indeed